What's going on, everybody? Happy Q4. We're well into the fourth quarter of 2019 and we're on the horizon for 2020. I thought this would be a good time to talk about why I think achievers are going to be using the carnivore diet in 2020 and three keys really why I think that's the case. So let's just jump into it. So the number one key is brain health. If you have looked at any of the anthropological studies out there or looked at how the human brain evolved, we are one of the biggest brained animals on the planet in terms of body mass to brain size. And when we look at the diet, what we see is that animal foods seem to historically correlate with our larger brains, which kind of makes sense because of the fact that our brains are largely made up of animal fats, DHA, docosahexaenic acid, and also eicosapentaenic acid. I'm butchering the names on these, but it's basically DHA and EPA. These are fatty acids that you cannot get from plant foods. You can get ALA and convert ALA, but the conversion is very low. It's like 8% for like a perfect person converting ALA into DHA and EPA. Your brain, one of the primary things your human brain is made up of is DHA. If you do not have DHA in your diet, it can cause major health issues. I think achievers are really gonna kind of move towards this carnivore diet and away from this whole sort of revolution that's happened over the last 5-10 years around veganism and animal diets being so much healthier, because the science is out now. The nutritional facts, the science of what your biology needs, your brain needs these fatty acids, and you cannot get them from plant-based diets. Where do you get most DHA? Well, most people know you take your fish oil, you take your cod liver oil. These types of oils are loaded with DHA. You can also get DHA from grass-fed beef. They've done numerous studies where they've shown that DHA intake can improve dementia, Alzheimer's disease symptoms. It can help with cognitive function, with mood, with memory, and thinking abilities. So there's a number of things out there, and it's quite unique, but one of the biggest things is your brain health and the fact that you're getting the DHA fatty acids from animal foods, which are directly fueling your brain. Another part of the brain health and the biology here, and why the carnivore diet is probably gonna be key for achievers, is B12. Vitamin B12 is critical for the nervous system, prevention of neurodegenerative diseases. It's extremely high in chicken, liver, fish, shellfish, but it's basically non-existent in the plant food kingdom. It can reduce the risk of macular degeneration in the eyes. It can help with cognitive and neurological disorder kind of degeneration. It's a critical nutrient that your body needs, and anyone who doesn't eat animal foods is going to really suffer from the missing of this. And it's probably a big explanation why you hear a lot of people who go from an all plant diet to reintroducing animal foods and suddenly feeling like they've gotten their brain back. They've gotten their mental clarity, their actual focus, their ability to think. To be a high achiever and to have your mental faculties, you have to have B12. The best source of B12 is gonna be animal foods, specifically grass-fed beef, liver, really even shellfish, things like that. They're fantastic sources. Another critical vitamin is K2, which is only bioavailable from animal foods. So you can get K1 from plants, but the conversion again is pretty dismal. And K2 is critical for cognitive function and brain power. It also helps with blood clotting and things like that. Again, this list isn't really supposed to be here to kind of cover every single thing that these nutrients do, but I did want to mention that the animal food diet, you're getting B12, DHA, K2. These are direct sources which are absolutely critical nutrients in your brain that you need to function at your top level. Another key nutrient is vitamin E, alpha tocopherol. And this has been really sort of the saying around the messiah of olive oil. Olive oil is really high in vitamin E, but you get a lot of vitamin E in high quality beef cuts, grass-fed beef. And vitamin E functions in the body as an antioxidant. It helps sort of mitigate and fight off the oxidative damage in the body that you go through as you kind of naturally are generating energy in your cells and going through the processes. You need vitamin E in high levels. If you look at my labs my vitamin E is off the charts. My vitamin B12 is off the charts. And you can see that from my blood work I did. And furthermore, that's from a carnivore diet. And I would claim that my cognitive function has been some of the best I've ever had in my life. And I don't drink coffee, I don't take stimulants, I do not take nootropics, Adderall, modafinil, any sort of synthetic chemicals or compounds. I just focus on optimizing my diet, light, and sleep. Zinc is another nutrient I wanted to really mention. It plays a critical function in memory and your ability to think critically. And zinc is very much abundant in animal foods. You get it in liver, muscle meat, shellfish. It's much harder to get through a plant-based diet. You can get it from plants, but it's not nearly as bioavailable, and you're gonna get a much more abundant source. It also helps with your immune function. A lot of people who are dealing with immune issues may have a deficiency in zinc, but it's another key nutrient here that if you want to be an achiever heading into 2020, consider getting this vitamin, this key essential mineral component into your diet. Shifting gears, I want to talk about the metabolic aspect of this diet. So as a carnivore and being an achiever, my goal is to really have mental performance and mental clarity all day long and just feel like I can go without really worrying about snacking or eating. I just want to have energy, and I want to have a sustained, solid, consistent feel of energy, and nothing really out there has matched what we found with the ketogenic diet in terms of the level of energy people get and the sustainability, frankly also for weight loss, but it's been a big game changer for a lot of people in the cognitive performance enhancing space. Ketone bodies, which is another way your body can run on a metabolic basis versus glucose, sugar. The ketones are much more metabolically efficient. They also have less reactive oxidative species, meaning they don't create as much oxidative damage in the cycle the cells go through to create energy. And they're more energetic in terms of the amount of energy you get. Your brain loves ketones. Ketones give you a steady supply of energy. It's metabolically efficient. And we're also seeing quite a bit of research out there now coming out in studies that are showing that being in ketosis can also support longevity. So something that was kind of developed back in the 30s and 20s to treat epilepsy and deal with issues and disorders around neurological function is now showing a lot of promise in preventative stuff with the way that we see people with disease prevention, with dealing with cancer, and certainly from a cognitive performance enhancing perspective, ketones are awesome. They did a study where they had 23 elderly people and they put them on a ketogenic diet and they compared it with a control placebo group, and the elderly group showed a remarkable improvement in verbal memory. They did another study with 150 individuals with mild to moderate Alzheimer's disease, and they ran a series of experiments over 90 days, and they found that the cognitive function of the Alzheimer's candidates who were on the ketogenic diet versus the standard diet had marked improvements in their cognitive function. So ketogenic is certainly a big aspect of this, and the carnivore diet is a ketogenic diet. Now here's the cherry on top and what brings all this together. I personally was on keto for 4 or 5 years. I started about 5 years ago, and I found that it caused a lot of gut issues. I didn't do well with the dairy aspect of it. I didn't do well with the MCT oils, with the bulletproof bars, with sort of a lot of the products in the keto space that, yes, hit that fat macro of 70 to 80% fat, 20% protein, but then have a bunch of ingredients, a bunch of fiber in there, a bunch of sort of altered, sort of processed foods. And the carnivore diet was sort of like my answer. And so the third piece of this is the fact that you need to realize your gut health and your gut is directly tied to your brain and your nervous system and your ability to perform cognitively. If your gut is wrecked, you cannot function at the same level as having an optimal gut in terms of what you want to achieve, how productive you can be, how effective you can be. And it kind of sucks because one of our greatest pleasures is the variety of foods, is the flavor profiles of all these different types of foods. But I've personally seen when I can streamline my diet to something extremely strict, mostly for me, it's grass-fed beef, grass-finished beef, and grass-fed, grass-finished beef fat. If I basically move on a diet that's just that, and then a bit of kidney, that's beef kidney, beef liver from time to time for the vitamins and the micronutrients, I find that I wake up and I'm like sustained energy. I'm on one of those days right now today where I was having friends and family in for the weekend, and I kind of mess with my sleep and my diet, and finally I'm back to kind of that streamlined feeling, and the energy and the difference is, it's not even a comparison. Like, there is so much more clarity. I don't feel like I need to cheat. I don't have a craving. I don't want to take a nap. I just want to keep going and going and going. And it's a cycle. The more energy you have, the better you feel, the more you get done, and the more you feel better. And it's one of those things where I hope to build a lot of momentum. But this third key here is really the gut aspect of the carnivore diet. When you eliminate a lot of these plant molecules, you eliminate fiber. I know that sounds crazy, no fiber. I'm an example of someone with no fiber for about a year now. When you eliminate the fiber and you just have nutrient-dense animal foods from the carnivore diet, you're gonna find that not only are you fueling your brain with the B12, the DHA, the K2, the vitamin E, the zinc, all these key nutrients you need, you're also running in a ketogenic fashion, so you're not creating as much oxidative damage, you're much more sustaining your energy levels, and your gut isn't constantly feeling like it's in a sort of rough seas type scenario, which is what I really found when I was on keto. You're gonna be in an awesome place. Your sleep will be better, your productivity will be better, and how you function is gonna go into outstanding levels. So just to kind of round out this third key with your gut and how you feel when you're on a carnivore diet, a big part of what the carnivore diet is all about is eliminating the plant toxins, the plant molecules that could be triggering. When you do that, and when you go to an animal-based diet, after you go through the adjustment period, you're gonna find that you're able to just function so much cleaner. You're not gonna have to poop as much. Personally, myself, 1 to 2 times a week is all I poop. It's a low residue diet. The nutrients you take in get absorbed. Your body doesn't have shit coming in that it can't process, thus it doesn't shit it out. So it's just a fascinating thing here. But let's recap the 3 keys. The first one is we're eating these brain health foods, these nutrient foods that are nutriently dense and support the human brain. And it makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. We believe that we evolved from primates that were primarily herbivores to these facultative pseudo-carnivores that were eating much more animal foods, and that's how our brains exploded, and it makes sense because of all the nutrients our brains are made of. Secondly, it's ketogenic. This is also ancestrally consistent. Whenever a human being doesn't have food for a period of time, they run on ketone bodies. They run in a ketogenic fashion. That's how you live when you're fasting. People can emulate this through a high-fat diet. We also see that animal foods, and a lot of the animals we eat are fat-based. There's a lot of fat in those animals, and you can eat that fat and you can do really well with that as an energy source. So that ketogenic aspect is reducing the oxidative damage. It's giving you much more energy molecule per molecule than glucose. It's much more stable and steady. And for most people, as long as they're not having gut issues, it's a fantastic way to operate. Lastly, it eliminates the gut issues. It really helps people with gut issues. There are so many stories. If you go to meatheals.com, if you look up anecdotes, if you check out Carnivore MD on his Instagram, so many stories of people who have basically changed their gut issues. And I can tell you firsthand, this was one of the biggest things I had to deal with. My gut was constantly never at ease. And I don't even remember, I don't even remember the last time I felt any sort of discomfort within my gut, but I know whenever I go off of my sort of regimen, I feel it. So I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be someone who's had gut issues for decades and then not even think about it. It's like you've basically been given a whole new life. So I hope that was helpful. If you made it this far, you're awesome. I appreciate you watching, and I'd love to hear your comments on what you think achievers are really going to be doing in 2020 and how the carnivore diet can kind of fit into that. And if you think we missed a big point on how the carnivore diet could support achievers into 2020. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share, and as always, let's get to become the best individuals we can possibly be. Thanks for watching.